1, 2.
Welcome to Alt Living.
All right.
Hello.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Fine.
On this channel, I'm investigating the perils and peaks of alternative careers, industries, and lifestyles.
You look very professional.
Do I?
This week, I'm speaking to Colin Devaney, an Irish musician based in central Vietnam.
Time is it over there?
It's 5:15. You're not much of a morning person, right?
No. We'll be talking about his professional highs and lows and what it takes to be a musician in 2021.
Excuse me.
I picked
There's nothing wrong with marketing.
Well, there isn't. No, there isn't. Which I now know. Turns out HR is far worse.
If you like this video, please make sure to hit like and subscribe.
Hi, Colin. Thanks for being on my brilliant Alt Living show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I hope I can be of use to you.
Thanks. So Alt Living is a YouTube channel where I talk to very interesting creative people and people who are doing lots of different roles. So you have kind of a double whammy. Do you want to give yourself a bit of an elevator pitch there?
Sure. Well, I'm Colin. I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter. I'm a vocal coach. I do voiceovers. I do jingles for podcasts and videos, and I live in central Vietnam. That's kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay, so it's currently 10 a.m. here, and I'm drinking a coffee. So I apologize if I'm not fully awake. 10, like it's half 6.
That's fine. That is fine. The coffee over here is super strong. So a drop accidentally fell on my hand earlier, and I probably won't sleep for about 3 days.
So can you give me, I suppose, your current job or your current job overview, post or pre What Shall Not Be Named and post?
Yeah. So in the time before the current time, I was mostly a live musician. So I was in a number of bands. I was in a jazz band. I was in an Afrobeats band with a guy from Burkina Faso, which was amazing. I'm the whitest man on earth playing in this Afrobeats band. And at Funk and Soul, I was the lead singer and guitar player for a funk and soul band. And then obviously I do my own stuff as well acoustically. So there was so much demand at the time for those services that I was ultimately just practicing once a week with each band. So that would be 5 bands, 5 practices, sometimes a week. Mm-hmm. And then, at its busiest. And then gigging between 5 and 6 days a week. So it ended up being a full-time job, really.
That's crazy. How did you keep the momentum up for that? Because I know I have a few musician friends. That's quite a hectic schedule.
Yeah, I kind of had to make some lifestyle choices. I had to stop smoking. If I wanted to continue singing 6 nights a week, so I stopped smoking. Basically, that's the big one.
Yeah,
I stopped
congratulations.
Stuff, but if I was still smoking, thank you. Honestly, that's just the big one. If I just stopped smoking and I went to the gym, and that's literally how I kept it up.
So boring though. It's not quite rock and roll.
It is boring. It's not rock and roll at all. But I mean, I did both the things. I used to get lots of free booze from the places, and then just like drink my weight in whiskey and wake up in the morning and just do it all again. And it was fine, but then I couldn't do it anymore. So I had to be like, well, if I want to make more money, I'd better start to be able to do it more often. So that was the choice I made, which is, again, it's not very rock and roll, but
yeah, but no, it makes sense.
It worked, thankfully. Yeah,
I know. Yeah. We're all getting older. We can all start to feel the late nights. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, those hangovers hit different now. They really do.
They really do. So I guess my first proper question of the interview is, did you go to school or university, and has that actually played any part in your role as a musician?
Great question. School. I did horribly. I was dragged through school.
Okay.
Basically because I had to. I mean, it's the law. I had to go to school, so I went to school. My poor
Mhm.
parents just like, oh, please enjoy school, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm trying, but I can't quite get around it. They ended up sending me to Yates, God bless them, which is a private school,
Oh.
for the final year, just because they were like, can we just for 1 year? I was like, yeah, 1 year, yeah, fine, yeah, let's put the effort in.
Yates is
I went to
hardcore, man.
Yates is hardcore. I was studying there about 12 hours a day. I was mostly distracted by a few things. In fact, I was going to a mixed school for the first time in 5 or 6 years.
Hmm.
Was one of them, and then I was also I had no idea that I had the attention span of a fly. Basically, I didn't know then. I just thought it was normal to do 20 minutes of work and then look at the corner for the rest of the day, imagining that you're somewhere else or doing something else, and just did that for all my whole time in there. Got a very average leaving cert, which got me into my number one course by 5 points to spare. So I did exactly the amount of work necessary
Yes.
to actually make it to university, which was
Top tip
fine.
there from Colin.
Top tip: just work smart, not hard. Which I didn't do either. I did just enough, and it took me way too long. So I went to GMIT in the end, and I studied business. I have a level 7 degree in marketing and a level 8 degree in human resource management. And I remember finishing my level 7 in marketing and going like, I could go for level 8 in marketing, but I've watched too many Bill Hicks videos, so I better do something that's a bit more kind of humane.
Excuse me. There's nothing wrong with marketing.
Well, there isn't. No, there isn't. Which I now know. Turns out HR is far worse. Turns out HR is far worse. Yeah. So I've got my level 8 in HR. And what HR is really, you think it's like, yeah, I'm going to be able to be the middleman between the big guy and the little guy, and do all that. And really, what it is you're trying to manage people safely so that the company doesn't sue you.
Yeah.
And it's about firing. Basically, it's about firing people legally and keeping people just happy enough so they don't quit. That's HR in a nutshell. So looking back, I probably should have finished the old level 8 in marketing.
Should have done marketing. You could have had your own tiny YouTube channel.
Yeah, I could be interviewing you right now. But hey, at least if that happened, then at least we'd both be sat here having the same conversation in a way, except the other way around. So either way, I've ended up here, which my entire life was leading to this moment, so thankfully I'm here.
So that kind of ties into, I guess, what was your worst job ever?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, there was one that destroyed my soul, and there was one that I look back on and I laugh at because it was just the worst job ever. The worst job I had, I think I'm going to go with the laughable one. It lasted all of 3 days. It was when I first moved to London after I couldn't stay in Galway anymore. And I got out and I went to London because that just fixes all your problems, immigration.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just walking around with a stack of CVs and a very heavy West of Ireland accent. And some guy just came in. I went into this guy's shop on Charing Cross Road, just a few minutes away from Trafalgar Square. And he called me back 10 minutes later, like, yeah, you've got the job. And I was like, what, I don't need to interview? He's like, no, just come in. Like, right, that was, so he didn't know who I was.
Alarm bells.
Or anything. Massive alarm bells. So day one I came in, it was a sandwich shop. It was literally called Sandwich Shop. They hadn't done much kind of market research on like this on a good name or something that was memorable. Now, to be fair, I have memorized the name of the shop compared to other shops, which I wouldn't be able to remember on that street. So maybe they've won. And there's a marketing tip. Just keep it simple. They had another shop across the road called Cafeteria. Again, classic. Keep it simple. And that's where their kitchen was. Their kitchen was the floor underneath across the road, right? So the boss said, go across the road and grab, because they had a thing in the window that they put their pizzas on, so you could buy pizza by the slice, and your sandwiches with like one slice of ham and far too much plastic cheese, and it cost you £12 and you hate it. And so I went across the road, and the chef guy, they didn't tell me where anything was, and the chef guy just starts shouting at me, going, "What the are you doing here? Can you please, get out of my way?" He didn't say please, but he gave me the stuff to go across the road again, and he gave me a hot pizza out of the oven, put it in a black bin bag, and put it directly on my hand. So now the plastic is melting onto my hand on one hand. On the other hand, I've got another bin bag with raw chicken breasts and hard-boiled eggs. And he says, "Go across the road." And I had to go across one of the busiest thoroughfares in I'm going to say in Europe, right?
Yeah.
With and say and keep away from the police. And I was like, "How am I supposed to?" So I just ran across the road and brought it over, and had to kind of peel some plastic off my hand. Anyway, it wasn't a fun job. Day 3 basically. No, day 2. Long story short, I quit after day 3. Okay. It was just it was a ridiculous work environment. There was a guy in there. I didn't know him from Adam. I was 22 years old, and he just showed me a picture of his girlfriend. And within 5 minutes, he was telling me the relationship troubles he was having, which required a certain type of prophylactic to stop it from happening, which we had to talk about in full detail. And then he just didn't come into work the next day, and I got slammed, and I decided to walk out. And it was. Had you
gotten your HR degree at that point?
I was fully HR'd up at this point. I was fully HR'd up. I had my degree. I had every intention of staying in Ireland and being a HR guy for like a year, but I happened to graduate in 2009. And my dad's a recruitment agent, and like he looked at me at my graduation, and he was like,
"Good luck."
I've got a call from like 50 senior HR guys who are starting back on starting wages, running entire HR companies, or running entire HR department of companies. And I was like, all right, I got to move to London.
I think it hit us all at the same time. It was just an absolute nightmare. So how did you get into the music side of it then?
Music was kind of always happening. When I was in university, that was something I was doing more than anything else, including studying. Like after I finished my Leaving Cert, I just spent every day in Air Square playing guitar. I didn't know anything about it, and I was still playing it every day. Obsessed.
One of those.
Going to the gaff every week. Yeah, and just figuring out like, how do I do this all the time? So I ended up being a busker. I busked for like 4 years on and off on the streets of Galway. Did the late shift until they made it illegal. Like people coming out of the club at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like people having full fist fights in front of
singing Oasis.
Guitar. Yeah, lots of Oasis. I think I owe them lads a pint, because they definitely paid my rent for a lot of that time. But mostly it was just like, once I finished, I was trying to make a living through music, and I did it. I did it by standing on the side of the road and playing to people. And I learned 2 valuable lessons, right? The first valuable lesson is just, if you have faith in yourself, just do it. And the second lesson is sometimes you have to work a little harder to find your target audience. My 9 to 5 was the wrong way around. It really, really was. Mine started at 9 a.m. and sometimes if you're being hired to go back to house parties afterwards, you're sometimes staying out as late as 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah. So, and then, so what has been your career highlight so far in the old music?
Oh God. I don't know. Honestly, my highlight, because I've done like, I've been in the Roisin Dubh. I've like, I could tell you things like I've supported Damien Dempsey. I supported like Chris Pontius's band, like from Jackass in the Roisin Dubh.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. I've played the O2 Academy in Islington. Like, exactly. Yeah. All those things like, oh, amazing. It's like they were all like my highlight is being able to do it on a regular basis all the time. Like, I'm not worried about paying my bills. That's massive for me.
Yeah.
Like, because like the highlights, like, I mean, the Damien Dempsey gig, I was playing the gig like with the band, and there was supposed to be two people, like two support acts, right? Me and another guy, and I won the first and second get to go to support Damien Dempsey in this competition. I came first, the other guy came second, but we started the gig first, right? So we started the gig first. We came on stage and we played to no one. In our final song, people start streaming into the Victoria. I think it was the Vic in Salt Hill. They'd forgotten to open the doors to the gig. They hadn't opened the doors for our set. They just maybe the security thought it was a sound check or something, but we didn't. And the other guy got the audience. Like, that's supposed to be one of my career highlights. It just wasn't the case. Yeah, it just didn't happen.
Did you get paid for it?
No.
Oh no.
No, I was taking what's that medicine you take to stop smoking at the time? What's that medicine? It's Chantix. I was taking Chantix at the time, and I walked all the way from Salt Hill to Eyre Square in a tizzy, smoking so many fags, and I realized I'd smoked all my fags because I couldn't feel the nicotine, the Chantix. I was just like, oh my god, and then that was that. But like, yeah, the O2 Academy gig, I had to sell my own tickets, and like that's, you invest 300 quid into that. And it's a pay-to-play scheme or whatever, you know, but you say you get to play the O2. And I did. I got to play to my friends and some kind of industry professionals who don't talk to you before or after the show. It's all just a ruse.
Scamming people for 300 quid.
Yeah. So the highlight for me is being able to...
So you've just been scammed for all of your highlights.
All my entire life is a scam, yeah. It's all just been a scam.
So that moves me on to, I suppose, my next question, which is, what has been your music career low point?
Oh God! Oh, loads, man. Yeah.
Your highlights are bloody scams.
Well, my highlight. Well, that's what the highlights are supposed to be. My highlights are. I mean, I've been in Vietnam for like 3.5 years, and I've bought loads of gear that I love playing. I love playing with the musicians here. I love being able to just like get on my motorcycle and drive through, you know, beaches and forests and stuff, and arrive in these places and come and play shows to people. That's a highlight. It's incredible. It's incredible. And you know, and when I have to move on at some stage, and I probably will, I'll be like, Vietnam was my highlight. It was amazing. The low time was possibly like, I think it was maybe 2016. I was living in a warehouse, but with a load of amazing creative people, but I realized I hadn't really been able to make any steps myself to move forward. I was super, super uninspired because I was, well, not because of, maybe because of, I was working in HR at the time. I was really tired and I came home. I didn't feel inspired by anything. And eventually when we got all the recordings and stuff together that we've been working on for years and years and years, and the A&R people had no faith in it. And the PR companies literally wouldn't touch it. That you couldn't pay them to touch it. And so that was a bit of a shame. So I was like, I can't pay these people to like my stuff. And then the band I was in, we split up, and then I decided to leave London and leave all that behind, which was a great decision at the time. That was definitely a low point. Just like nothing at that time had gone right. But like I quit music. I left all my gear in London, and I was just like, take care of that for a while, please. I got to go sort some stuff out. Went to Vietnam literally just to be a guy that ate noodles and like sat around for a while. And to be fair, to this day, I have kept that. I really kept that going. It's been good.
What age were you when you moved to Vietnam?
I was 28, 29, around that time, 28, 29. And at that stage, I was just like, I'd worked my entire life in music and in hospitality and then in HR. And I just knew that I didn't want to do any of those three things. And that was it. But I ended up playing music after someone maybe do an open mic. And then I got offered 7 gigs and just said, okay, let's give it a go. And ended up actually really enjoying it. So it was a cool experience from there.
Amazing. So who, I suppose in your music style, who are you inspired by?
Oh my God. So when I was in Galway, I was hugely inspired by like Damien Rice and like Jeff Buckley. Like Grace is still one of my like top albums of all time.
Mhm.
But I would get made fun of quite often by people who were, I don't know, I mean, they just comment on the fact that maybe I had taken Jeff Buckley's voice a little bit too literally when I was singing. So I was
Okay.
like, okay, I'd better maybe take a look at that. Um, so I did. I tried to do that, but it was definitely like Jeff Buckley, Radiohead, um, and Damien Rice were my big, and Led Zeppelin.
Mhm.
Were like my four big bands that I absolutely fell in love with. So I wrote acoustic ballads a lot, and that kind of graduated to rock music because, like, ultimately, the band that gave me the courage to get up on stage as some pudgy, curly-headed fella was Tenacious D.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to listen to that album over and over again and watch like how cool Jack Black was, and I would not have had the courage to get up on stage at all if it wasn't for him.
Shout
So
out to
Tenacious
Jack
D,
Black.
definitely, please, yeah. I love them so much, and they really did have a big part in me having courage to go on stage. So those are my biggest musical influences. But as I moved on, I started listening to like a lot more jazz. Started getting like super deep into like Coltrane and like some of the more modern jazz stuff, and even the neo soul stuff like Hiatus Coyote, like Napalm. She's like my absolute guitar hero.
Hmm.
um, and I just love the whole like the new neo soul stuff and the more modern jazz stuff that's coming out. I love it so much, and I'm not I don't know how they're doing it, so it's still a super magical experience for me to hear it. Like a musician we grew up with in Galway called Riley Stone Lonigan. Um, he's a saxophone player, and
Excellent
he's just
name as well.
Riley Stone Lonigan. Yeah, I believe his dad was an actor in like like a James Bond movie or something like that before as well, which
Oh,
makes him even cooler.
that's pretty
Even
cool.
though he couldn't be like, you'll meet him and he's like, yeah, he couldn't be any cooler of a guy. He's just the sweetest man of all time. But I'm listening to the stuff that he's coming out with now, the jazz stuff he's coming out with, and it's blowing my mind every time I hear it. And it's amazing to see stuff like that come out of Galway and listen, yeah, and even like one of my big albums from last year was Hawk's album. You know Hawk, right? No,
No, listen,
there's
I know like John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers. That's it. That's where my music starts and ends. So
dude, John Frusciante is amazing. How do you feel about him coming back into the band again?
yeah, I'm so excited. And
Yeah.
he's released new music. I actually almost cried.
Did you read the story about them telling the other lad he was gone?
I did, yeah.
Oh,
I've
the
no
poor
pity.
lad. Have you no pity from it all?
No,
Well, fair enough. Like, I mean, yeah, fair
you'd
enough. I
have
mean,
to just be like, fair enough. It's John Frusciante.
yeah. I mean, yeah, right. I mean, that's how I feel about it. But I feel like if you're that guy whose name I can't remember, and that's awful as well.
Josh Klinghoffer.
Josh Klinghoffer. I should have remembered that name. It's a bloody terrible name.
Yeah.
Terrible name, but it's awesome as well. Um, if I was him and the entire world was like, yeah, but come on, buddy, it's John Frusciante, I'd be angry. I'd be depressed. There's a couple of broken kitchen walls in his future, some drywall, some paintings being bought to cover the holes in the drywall in the future. Yeah.
I just can't feel empathy when it's around John. I don't know. Got this.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a bit unhealthy, the obsession. Moving on to a topic which can be a little bit risque to talk about, which is
Sure.
just sorry, swift move away from John. I'll end up talking about John for the next like 5 hours.
Sure, or we'll end up getting risque about John. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Which is money.
Money.
So in terms of, how is the standard of living as a musician?
Over here, it's like I'm going to talk pre-situation and post-situation. So pre-situation, I was making a good living, right? A good living by Western standards.
Okay.
At this point in time, compared to the cost of living, I'm still making a good enough wage that I can still comfortably live, which is amazing.
Brilliant.
It just means that I had to open up my different revenue streams.
Oh, there is some business and marketing. It all comes back.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, look, but you have to know these things. You know, if you don't know these things, you're left behind. You really are. And you don't even have to know the terminology. Just do something, and hopefully someone will pay you for it. You know.
So yeah, you're doing a lot more kind of music lessons and vocal lessons and stuff now, aren't you?
Music lessons, vocal lessons, voiceovers. When I first came to Vietnam, people were looking for, like, there's companies just setting up in Vietnam that needed English scripts and stuff and like voiceovers for their videos. So for a while, I was the voice of like different hospitals and like tile manufacturing companies in Vietnam. You know,
that is hilarious.
Yeah. There's like Medlatech hospitals. I was just like, Medlatech hospitals. You know, like having to talk about all of their different machineries and stuff like that, and talking to, like, these videos were made for doctors, you know, so I was coming out with all this medical terminology, and I was like, are you sure we need to be going to? They're like, yes, just read the script. I was like, all right, fine.
Have you ever done a lift, like you are on like level 1?
No, I would love to. Oh my God. Yeah.
My dad told me when I was a child that it was actually someone's job to sit on a chair above the lift and to just like say what floor you were on. I was like, that's such an easy job.
It's a very easy job.
I was foiled.
It's a very easy job.
I was foiled as a 5-year-old.
Well, I mean, it might be true in certain places. You don't know.
Yeah.
But if you've got two elevators, you've got a tough job in your hands.
Just jumping across elevator shafts.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to be looking down. It would have to be automated to a certain degree with cameras, and then if you can't properly see what button they've pressed, you're just guessing. You're just yes-anding that stuff. You know, it's total improv.
You could offer your services to do that. That's thinking outside the box.
It is, but it's like I've had this conversation with people because, like, you've still got a bit of time, Colin, you can do this and that, and I was like, yeah, but if you sign up for a job like that, we're talking 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, assuming there's another schlep who's willing to do it another 12 hours a day for the remaining 7 days a week, you know?
Yeah.
Which I doubt is possible. So I think we may have to leave that alone.
Listen, that could be my future job. We'll see.
Awesome. Sorry about that. The internet gets attacked by sharks here on a regular basis.
I'm my internet man, I have to work off a hotspot. I'm a marketing manager, and I have to tether from my phone in order to get internet, because we live on one side of the road where there's 6 houses, and there's a load of estates on the other side, and they won't bring the internet to this side of the road because there's only 6 houses and it's not worth their money. So we're on like a copper line from the 1990s, and it's so painful. It's so painful.
Hanbury, what I wouldn't give for a copper line from the 1990s. We've got a massive line going through the sea, and sharks bite the line. And when sharks attack the line, they've got to send people down there to fix the line.
Is that actually serious?
I'm not trying to be funny here. This is a true story.
Oh my God.
This is a true story. The 4G comes from a different source, but the actual internet comes from a line that comes through the ocean, and it gets bitten by sharks.
Oh, God. Do you know what? Yeah. Elon Musk really needs to roll out that 5G, satellite internet pretty quick.
He does.
I bought really 0.0001% of a share in the hopes that like my £5 would help them get it done a little bit quicker.
Well, that's what he told me.
Thanks. Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's
So,
what he told me.
apologies for the network issues there, but we'll end on a high note, which
Yeah.
is yourself, Colin. It's really nice to hear that you moved to Vietnam kind of in your late 20s, and that's when you found yourself and kind of started, your new career and things like that. So what is your advice for beginners at any age who would like to get into music?
I think, I've got so much advice. I don't know. It's very scary. And just like allow yourself to feel that and try and figure out why you're scared of it. And chase that pretty quickly, because otherwise there's other people that kind of would prefer if you didn't succeed, and there's plenty of them around, and it's good if you know what your weaknesses are and you can work on them, and be sure that at the very least it's what you want to do. If you know it's what you want to do, it's great. It's fantastic. Also, music wise, like there's a lot of people who are scared that having actual music lessons with like a good teacher, and especially vocalists, it takes away from their style of singing. When in actual fact, it allows you to evolve your style if you want to. It allows you to make choices. It's not your style if you don't have a choice in the matter. It's that's all you got.
That's good. That's really good.
If you have a choice in the matter, it's like just give yourself those choices and be really conscious of your choices, because what rolls off the tongue a lot of the time isn't always the best thing for you, when it comes to creating or even your business decisions, or any decisions really. And I've got about 50 million, like invest in yourself. Like if you have profit for the first 5-6 years, just invest it back in yourself, invest it back in your gear, in your guitars, in your microphones, in your recording equipment, in time off for you to write, to record, a good gym to keep yourself exercised, a good shrink to keep your head in order. Just invest in yourself. And just have your good friends, and if you can do all that, I think you're laughing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's all I got.
And your shark invested bloody internet.
Yeah, if you can get a 5G internet from Elon Musk from some sort of floating device, I would definitely take that over any internet that could potentially be infested by sharks.
That's brilliant. That's very...
It's a choice.
I'm like actually dying. Anyway, excuse me, having a bit of a cough attack there. You can see
No
that
problem.
I definitely didn't give up what you did. Thanks so much for being on, Colin. I really appreciate it. You are the first guest of Alt Living. How exciting is that?
I will not sleep this evening.
I know. I know you're going to be so excited.
I'm already aflutter.
In suspense, waiting to see what the
I can't wait until this comes up online, and I can tell my parents that someone wants to hear what I have to say, and it'll be great. It'll be great.
Great moment. Colin also wrote the jingle jangle that will be playing at the beginning and end of this video. So, and he did a very good job from an absolutely horrendous job spec that I gave you.
It was the funniest job spec. I got very lucky because what you wanted, I didn't necessarily have the skills to record myself, or even the tools to record myself. So I got very lucky with certain samples that I managed to get, and what I could turn those samples into, coupled with some guitar stuff and rhythm stuff I could put in there myself, together created what you'll hear after we go away.
Well, this has been absolutely excellent. I really appreciate you coming on. Best of luck with all of the career stuff, given the time that's in it and what shall not be named.
That shall not be named.
But you shall come back bigger and better and stronger than ever.
And yourself and everyone, my heart's with Ireland right now, and I miss you guys so much. Yeah,
I have no pity for you. It's probably like gorgeous outside. It's so
great.
I've had blizzards.
I'm going on my motorbike later. It's like 32, 33 degrees outside. I might just go on a ride with my motorbike later and just get a bite to eat. I'm not rubbing it in, but it's
definitely
lovely.
You definitely.
No, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Well, listen. Once we make my YouTube millions, I'll relocate to Vietnam and chill out on the beach. That'd be quite nice.
Very good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thanks a million, Colin. I'm going to leave all of your links in the description below. Apart from being a generally sound and gas lad, Colin does actually play music. So I will leave all of his stuff down there. Please support him. He's brilliant. And thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. See you again. Bye, everybody.